For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings so we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Bad feeling about this.
Welcome to episode 236 of Blue Harvest. I'm your host, Halls Burkhart.
And I'm your host, Will Witten.
And, Star Wars. Oh, no, man, Star Wars. We're going to talk about it. Got a couple of things to talk about. One thing, not great, but it could be worse. And one, pretty awesome. Looking forward to it. I'm sick again, so that's awesome. It's great. Great. Been a great week at the Burkhart-McGarity household.
Just crap.
I'm sick. Dharma's sick. Had to take her to the vet yesterday. $300 and something later. She's on some medicine.
Moogly.
It's been a couple of days, my friend.
That's what it sounds like.
So before we get talking about all the Star Wars goings on, let me give you guys a little bit of business, a little sick business. I hope you guys are down with the sickness. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com. You can email us voice messages and just regular ass old emails at blueharvestpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at blueharvestpod. We have a newly launched YouTube page that you can check out. Just search for Blue Harvest, a Star Wars podcast. Hopefully eventually we have like a URL or a channel URL that we can make that a lot easier. And go over and subscribe and check it out. We're going to be posting some stuff up over there. And, just little things to complement the podcast and things like that. We'll see how it goes. And if you really want to support us, if you dig this goofy-ass little show, you can support us for little as $3 a month over at patreon.com/Blue Harvest Podcast. And when you support us, you get all kinds of cool Star Wars Blue Harvest bonus shows. Shows like Star Wars Year by Podcast with our buddy Steele. There's a new episode of that up. Star Wars Adventures with a big group of our friends. There's a new episode of that up fairly recently. Oh No, It's Hall Solo, Jaws Cooking with Will, Masters of Harvest, Kasi, Podula Rasa, Steve versus the Prequels.
Did you say Jaws?
Jaws, I think I did, but it bears repeating.
You probably did.
And some other stuff coming too. So go ahead, like I said, check that out. Blue Harvest. Sorry, guys. Patreon.com/Blue Harvest Podcast for all your Blue Harvest support needs.
I love the concepts behind Oh No, It's Han Solo and Jaws. I think those are brilliant namings for exactly what they are.
Yeah, I'm particularly proud of, honestly, a lot of the names of our bonus content. To be honest, I think there's some pretty creatively named things, I have to say. Not all my doing. I did come up with Jaws with Jesse. We were trying to come up with a name, and I was like, I got it.
That's pretty good.
And then, Oh No, It's All Solo. That was me too. But everything else, like Masters of Harvest Kasi, that was King Tom. Padula Rasa, that's Emily. Yeah, go check those out. Here in the next couple of weeks, I might put together a little like demo disc preview of some of our Patreon content, little clips and stuff that I'll put up on the free feed. It'll be like a smorgasbord.
Teaser.
Yeah, a little smorgasbord
Trailers.
teaser of what you guys can get over there. Just got to find the time and whatnot. So how has your week been, buddy?
The weather's been crazy, but it's been a good week. I can't complain.
What kind of weather are you guys getting over there? Just cold?
It was hot and rainy, and then it got cold and rainy, and then freezing, and now it's just slightly cold.
Dude,
I'm afraid it's going to turn back hot.
So, I think that has something to do with why I'm sick. I don't know. Maybe it's, maybe I just caught a bug. It's probably exactly what happened. But, I had Monday off. It was a public holiday. And I'm staying home, and I'm playing some video games on the couch. And Jessie says, "Oh, no." And I was like, "What's wrong?" She says, "I don't want to speak it into existence." And I'm like, "No, really, what's wrong?" She goes, "I've got a scratchy throat today. I'm afraid I'm getting sick again." And I was like, "No, you're not getting sick."
Just some sinus drainage.
Yeah. Well, guess who started getting a scratchy throat by Monday evening?
Oh, my goodness.
That was me. And I was like, oh, this is just me being a fucking weirdo. Like, I'm just imagining it because Jessie said she was getting sick, and I got my anxiety was like, no, you gonna get sick. How you doing, boy? You gonna get sick. That's what my
sick
anxiety.
As a dog. You better get some vitamin C. Buy some orange juice now.
So I go to bed that night, wake up Tuesday morning, and I'm like, oh, yeah, my throat hurts. But that seems to be all it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. Just maybe a little scratchy throat. And I was thinking, oh, it's because it literally dropped like 30 degrees, 40 degrees in the past couple of days. It's just the massive weather change. Well, Tuesday, take my ass out to work, drive around all day in 20-degree weather. Look, I know some of you guys are listening are like, 20 degrees? That's not that cold. That's cold for us down here.
We live in South Dakota where it's minus 40.
Yeah, I have to fucking blow the Yeti to get out my door every morning.
Wow, I thought you were going to say below the driveway off or the sidewalk, but no.
No. That's not how we roll around.
It's not how we roll here.
So driving around cold all day, get home feeling miserable. You know what I mean? Just being out in the cold all day. Wake up Wednesday, yesterday, full-blown sick. Sniffles, coughing.
Goodness.
So, we'll see how it goes. I hope I kick this pretty quick because we have a trip next weekend, and I do not want to be sick for that.
Yeah.
We got a chance to play some Battlefront last Saturday. That was nice.
A rare, enjoyable round.
Yeah, played a little... not a little. We played quite a few matches of old Starfighter Assault. Such a fucking fun mode.
Right. Where we both were in the leaderboards.
Dude, I got a round in piloting old Slave One. It was Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Tight. I was on like a 32 kill streak or something. Man, I would really like to see... Oh, yes, thank you. Jesse just brought me cough drops.
Oh, nice. That's a good...
I would like to see some of the sites that maybe didn't review Battlefront 2 so well when it first released come out and do like a re-review of it in its current
report card
state.
of how it's been doing since,
Because it's a completely different game, and it is so good. I'm not going to try and act holier than thou or cooler than cool and say I didn't enjoy it when it first came out, because I did. I feel like I was the rare exception that tried to take up for that game in some regards. Obviously, the microtransaction stuff was excessive and whatnot, but where it's at now, it is so good. So many different modes, different heroes, different units, customization options, so much cool stuff.
I had a lot of criticism about the game, very specific, that I think they heard, not from me specifically, but from the people, and they tried to attend to. To me, one of the flawed designs is like the scant unlockable attachments for the blasters, and how much it took to unlock each thing. And I just say this from playing other, even Battlefield. It took me a while to unlock Battlefield attachments, but that once you get going, they come pretty quick. 200 kills to unlock this one thing for a blaster, and then you got to move on to the next blaster. And really coming back to it, that's my only really gripe, is that.
Yeah, I also see why that could be kind of tough, because whereas with like Battlefield or Call of Duty, you're working from like real life weaponry and attachments and stuff. And
I agree, and I see why that's hard to do, but I think that level of detail and minutia could benefit Star Wars. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't all have to be canon, I don't need the stabilizers and whatever the gum parts to be official.
Right. But regardless, if you're listening and you still have a copy of Battlefront 2 and haven't checked it out in a while, I highly recommend it. It's a good time.
I agree. Especially when you got friends to play with.
That's what I was about to say. Maybe we'll try to organize some kind of Blue Harvest
group
community play date. Some Saturday evening or something. That could be a lot of fun. If you're interested in that, hit us up. It'll be Xbox One. Unfortunately, that's the only platform Will and I both have it for. So, but I still think we could cast a pretty big net and get some people to play with us on the old X-Bone.
You would think.
So, let's do the bad news first. So we recorded last Thursday.
I have a feeling that I know what it is.
Excitement in the air. You know what I mean?
A buzz.
Taika Waititi. Ooh, is he going to do a Star Wars? Maybe. All kinds of excitement in the air.
And the fake news about who's going to show up in Mandalorian Season 2.
Jesus.
Everyone from Iden Versio to
Grand Admiral
Jade,
Thrawn.
Grand Admiral Thrawn, and Jason Solo, and
ridiculous. Anyways, then Friday I get up and there is a little bit of like buzz going around on Twitter that something's going on with Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series, right?
Yeah.
And then reports start coming out that it's just straight up canceled. And buddy, I am bummed because, we're really looking forward to that one over here at Blue Harvest.
Yeah, because, and I was bummed too, but I was kind of in disbelief. I was like, you're telling me Ewan McGregor sat on this thing for like 4 or more years and now it's canceled? Like, that's some dirty shit. That's dirty shit.
And then you see, sort of the dog piling on Disney and Lucasfilm. I'm going to join the fandom menace. That's it. This is the last straw. Well, then entertainment reporters started doing some digging and came back with, it's not canceled. Whew, sigh of relief, right? Oh, that's nice to hear. Cut to today. Literally like an hour ago. Maybe 2. Reports start coming out with further information about what's going on. And Obi-Wan is not canceled, but it is apparently and appears to be on hold while they rework the scripts and get it into a place that everybody's happy. Ewan McGregor still attached. In fact, last week people reached out to him and his representatives, and he said, no, I'm still committed to doing the Obi-Wan series. Deborah Chow still attached to direct. So it's seemingly still going on, but it's being reworked.
Sounds like someone hit the brakes to make sure the story was going to be tip top. which is precisely what we need to be doing.
Yeah, and I realize that, like, man, some people just, it's like a fucking Star Wars mosh pit out there. You know what I mean? Like,
Dude, it is. Once
one little inkling of bad news comes out, and it is time to open up this fucking pit. Like it's Ozfest 99 up in this bitch. You know what I'm
throwing
saying?
uppercuts and haymakers all across.
Open up the wall of death. I chipped a tooth and lost a crutch in a wall of death once. This is the last time that was ever on the floor for a concert.
Oh my god.
So, I think, you know, if this leads to a show of Mandalorian quality, then whatever bumps in the road need to be smoothed out ahead of time. I'm not as concerned with when we get Obi-Wan, just that we get Obi-Wan and that it's really good when we do get it, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, it's hard to say. Clearly, it's hard to say because I just want a couple of years. Even I would even take like a year or even 6 months of just fucking smooth sailing for Star Wars. You know what I mean? Calm
the year of
seas.
Star Wars hype.
Yeah, man. Like,
and we always compare it to Marvel, but you know, all the hype that was around Infinity War and right after, like, that was mega buzz.
yeah.
And then Endgame, like, and I know, you know, those are the movies for Star Wars.
Right. And this is the thing. Like, I'm just glad that we didn't get into a situation like a Solo type situation, right? Where they were filming this show, and then halfway through production, they were like, this shit ain't working. We got to fire everybody and redo this whole thing. Like, at least they got to it before that. And, you know, if that requires a delay in production. So it sounds like, from what I can gather from what's been coming out today, and I'll pull up a Hollywood Reporter article here in a second, and we'll go over some of the details from that. But basically, it sounds like they weren't happy with the scripts that were being developed, and that writer's out. They're seeking a new writer. The episode count may go from 6 to 4. Once again, dealing with a miniseries, that's fine. Like, don't try to stretch it out. I don't need Daredevil on Netflix. That was too many episodes, you know?
Yeah.
Or any of those Netflix Marvel series that seemed like they drug on just a tiny bit too long. However many episodes you need to tell us a badass Obi-Wan Kenobi story in between 3 and 4, just do that. I don't care. 4 episodes, 5 episodes, 6 episodes, 3 episodes, whatever it takes. I'm selfish, so I want more than less, but the end product is what matters, right?
Right.
And it sounds like they were in the midst of pre-production for the show. And when they decided to toss out these scripts and retool them and get things back on track, people that were in working on the pre-production stuff were told, hey, like, we're taking a break while we get this figured out. And then that's probably where all of the rumors of it being canceled and the sky is falling stuff came from. Which you can kind of understand. If you got a job working on Star Wars.
And they were just like, whoa.
Fuck it.
We don't know when you're coming back.
Right. Take the Star Wars element out of it. Just say, if you got a job in general and they come to you and say, hey, we're putting this job on hold for a little while. Sorry about that. We got to let you go. You can understand some frustration and things like that, obviously. But here, let me pull up this Hollywood Reporter article and see what they have to say.
Not by the Brez.
No, the Brez was one of the ones that came out last week and was like, I did some digging and it's not canceled. He even said last week in his thing that from what he could understand, a production delay led to all the panic. So he even said last week that there was a delay in production. It just seems like today we got more information.
About what that delay actually was.
Right. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. It says, Disney Plus and Lucasfilm Star Wars series centered on Obi-Wan Kenobi has been put on hold as the companies attempt a retooling. Multiple sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. The effort in which Ewan McGregor is set to reprise his role of the famed Jedi Knight was in the throes of pre-production. The project had Hossein Amini, the writer of that movie Drive from a few years back, writing, and a director in Deborah Chow, who became the first ever female Star Wars director thanks to her work on Disney Plus's buzzy series, The Mandalorian. Sources say that the show was even screen testing actors opposite McGregor. Sources tell the Hollywood Reporter that the scripts, only 2 were written, and story became an issue and that the entire package has been jettisoned. Lucasfilm is now on the hunt for a new writer to pin the series. At the same time, sources say the project is being reconfigured from 6 episodes to 4. It is unclear when the show will ramp up again, although insiders stress that McGregor remains attached to star and Chow remains on as director. Disney had no comment. But those 2 pieces of information, to me, probably the most important. Deborah Chow still set to direct. Ewan McGregor still set to star.
The light's still green.
One source said the Kenobi story trod similar ground as The Mandalorian, seeing the Jedi Master lending a protective hand to a young Luke, perhaps mirroring how the Mandalorian took Baby Yoda under his protective custody. So it could come down to maybe they felt like it was too similar of a story.
Yeah.
To The Mandalorian, and you could see that. You know, may want to differentiate your 2 Star Wars live action series a bit in that regard. That's about it. The rest is like, you know, talking about how it was originally going to be a movie, Stephen Daldry, blah, 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 blah. So, now, there is an interesting sort of wrinkle to this. And it could sort of clue us into the workings of Lucasfilm, or maybe they were trying to pull some shenanigans. But I have maybe a personal theory about this that could be way off. But, you know, back in August when they held D23, when they announced this thing and brought Ewan McGregor out for it and stuff, they were saying on stage that the scripts were written for the series. And it was a few months later when they announced Deborah Chow as the director that I believe it was also in that announcement about the guy that was writing the scripts. I kind of wonder if when they were talking, I think it might have been a technicality at D23. And what I mean is, when they say the scripts were written, I think they had a script for the proposed Obi-Wan movie that they were going to adapt into a television series. So I think that's what they meant. I don't think, and I'm not saying that saying they were being a little loosey-goosey with the terminology.
Means they had two rough episodes sketched out, and like the stories are written, the scripts are written. I can say plural because there are 2.
Well, you know, depending on how the runtime for the episodes, it could have been 4 scripts worth of TV series, because you know The Mandalorian, those weren't hour-long episodes.
Right. I mean, I was just saying, like you were saying, they were being generous.
Right. Exactly. And then if I had to guess, they brought the writer on to adapt that movie script or reconfigure that movie script into the series script. Things aren't working out. They let him go. Looking for someone else, you know. But hopefully they get on it. Another report that I was reading is saying that they're expecting or hoping that production ramps back up by this summer. So, you know, I don't necessarily think this is the most serious of delays. it probably, in the long run, it probably just means we get the Kenobi series later than originally they had planned. And since it's not like we had a release date for this thing, it doesn't necessarily affect us that much.
And it's not like Ewan McGregor's going to get too old at some point.
No, that's the thing. Like, he's got plenty of years, like, to play that role.
Yeah.
So, when it comes down to it, I just want the Obi-Wan series to be good. So, whatever they got to do, I guess. But I don't know, man. Let's get the dog pile going. Let's fucking break out the prison shivs, toothpaste, fucking filed down into a knife.
Uh-oh, they stopped production. This means it's going to be garbage. It's going to be terrible garbage. They're going to ruin Star Wars. George Lucas raped my childhood.
Oh, my Lord. You want to talk about something a little more fun?
Yeah.
We got a Clone Wars trailer this week.
We did. And boy, is it awesome.
It's awesome, man. And we got... So, I can't remember where it came from. I think maybe it was like a... sort of a preview package for stuff coming to Disney Plus, and the original date that everybody was tossing around for the return of Clone Wars was February 17th. And that wasn't far off, but according to this trailer that came out yesterday, I think it was yesterday, it's actually February 21st. So February 21st,
which is right around the corner.
Yeah, a little under a month away at this point. We're getting the return of the last season of Clone Wars. They do specify in the trailer the final season, which makes sense. I mean, I kind of figured that was going on, but I also have seen like a lot of people who Clone Wars is like their ride or die. And there's nothing wrong with that. Clone Wars is awesome, but I've seen them saying like, "Oh well, maybe this is just the first of much more Clone Wars," and I get that.
It would be cool, but. I mean, the trailer made it seem pretty obvious it's going to be Ahsoka and Darth Maul focused. Mm-hmm. But of course, there was Obi-Wan and Anakin in there as well. Anakin looks super pissed in a couple different parts of that, and I really like that because I like seeing the flavor of his fall to the dark side. Because to me, it feels so immediate in Revenge of the Sith that I really like that. There's going to be some new canon with, Anakin raging before that fall.
Yeah, and there's some interesting things in the trailer. So we knew going into this that the Siege of Mandalore storyline was going to be one of the big storylines that was explored in this series. And that, I believe, it's been a little while, but I believe at this point, Darth Maul is ruling over Mandalore, and that's what Ahsoka is going to do, is help dispose. What do you do to a king?
Depose, I think was correct.
Yeah.
Depose.
Whatever it is. Take him off his fucking throne.
Unseat him from his throne.
And what's really interesting is, in the years since the cancellation of Clone Wars, Dave Filoni has done several panels at Celebration and, maybe even Comic-Con and stuff, where he's talked about the unproduced arcs of the Clone Wars and sort of the plans they have. So we have at least a general idea for how this goes. And, sort of the basis of it is the Jedi, like specifically, I believe, Obi-Wan and Anakin, are going to Mandalore to assist when they get the call that they have to come back to Coruscant real quick because Chancellor Palpatine has been abducted. So the Siege of Mandalore, which I assume is probably the arc that's coming real close to the end, maybe probably the very last arc of the Clone Wars, it butts up right against Revenge of the Sith. And probably crosses over with it a bit, too. I would not be surprised if we see the clones that are with Ahsoka, get the orders for Order 66.
Oh, wow.
And then there's also the storyline where, like, Anakin's like, yo, I got to leave, So I'm going to leave you my clone trooper battalion, and then they take their helmets and sort of repaint them in like Ahsoka colors, like orange with like her like facial marking designs on it and stuff. And Rex is one of them. So that's, you know, that's also a really pretty, you got to give it to him, a pretty clever way to explain why Rex isn't around during Revenge of the Sith.
It is.
And then there's a couple other interesting hints. In there, like, we see a shot of some Venators, which are like, you know, the Republic Star Destroyer type ships.
Yeah.
And they don't have the red and gray paint job that the Republic version do. They're all solid gray, which I'm pretty sure that signifies like post Rise of the Empire. So we could be getting post Revenge of the Sith content to a certain degree. I'm not expecting a lot of it, but it'll be interesting to see. And then there's that shot of Anakin and Padme where Padme is very clearly pregnant, and Anakin doesn't find that out until Revenge of the Sith.
That's
Unless
true.
he's just not checking out that hologram very clearly. I think that kind of signifies that maybe that Anakin segment takes place sometime during Revenge of the Sith.
That's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's some exciting things on the horizon as far as Clone Wars goes and its connection with everything. You also get a brief look at the fucking hot topic Mandalorians. You know the ones I'm talking about, like when Maul takes over Mandalore, like the Mandalorians that serve him like put horns on their helmet.
I guess I didn't see that part.
Yeah,
or I'm sure I saw it, but I didn't realize that's what that was.
You kind of see one from behind, and they paint their fucking armor all red and black and shit.
Is Darth Maul always had the horns like on the side of his face at like the temples or the high cheekbones? Because I remember all the ones on the head, but when I was seeing him in the trailer and the animated one, I was like, has he always had those side bones like on the side of his head?
It's a good question. Let me do a quick Google image search here. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of that design of the Maul.
Right, the Darth Maul animated design.
No, I mean I was talking about the Maul DeLoreans.
Maul DeLoreans.
Yeah, like the Mandalorians. Yeah, he's got those. He's got those temple horny horns.
Yeah, he does. He does. I guess they just aren't as prominent.
Yeah, they're a little more understated in the movie. I actually like the animated design of Darth Maul quite a bit.
His neck seems so skinny, or his head is thin, or something. I don't know.
I think it's just the translation into that style
to me,
of animation.
Ray Park seemed beefier.
Yeah.
And that Darth Maul is very skinny. Now, granted, losing your legs may thin you out a little bit.
And he didn't just lose his legs, bro. He lost from the belly button down.
Yeah,
so
everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
who knows how he's staying nutritified.
Losing your plumbing and everything.
He might just be drinking Ensure shakes and not knowing what the hell happens afterwards. We still don't know. I still think that is the greatest mystery in Star Wars is how does Darth Maul go poo-poo?
There's like a trash compactor in there, and it compresses it down into little cubes. And when he sleeps, he just there's these little cubes when he wakes up, and he doesn't know what they are.
Little droid comes up like a tiny miniature little, tiny, like the size of I'm looking for something around the house,
like a Wally, like a little bitty Wally.
No, I'm thinking miniature probe droid, right? Well,
okay.
Man in a bathtub, in a bathtub. And it comes up and it uses its little spider legs to grab the cubes and then just takes them and drops them in the trash.
There you go.
Like the size of one of the big marbles. Tiny. We figured it out. Get us on the story group. We'll write that into the fucking Kenobi series somehow.
Send us an email.
Like Kenobi will be sitting in his hut, and he'll open up that chest, right? That he keeps that fancy chest that he keeps Anakin's saber in, and he'll be like, "Man, Darth Maul, what a bitch," and then another character that's hanging out with Obi-Wan for no apparent reason. We'll call him Balls Hercart. He's like, "Yeah, I know, man. What a bitch," and then he'd be like, "Hey, let me ask you something, Ben. How'd that dude go poo-poo?" And then he'll be like, "Well, that is a story for another time that I'll tell you right now." And then, he'll explain your little trash compactor method.
Yeah.
And that's how you get Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan series.
That's the worst way to put Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan series.
I'm telling you right now,
Do you think they should put his death in there? You think they should film that scene where he shows up and gets his ass whooped?
No, I don't.
Because the Obi-Wan in that scene is pretty old. It's like,
well, it's
when is that supposed to be? How old is Luke supposed to be in that scene?
It's like maybe a year or two before A New Hope. Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's no way they could show that. I mean, there may be some foreshadowing.
Yeah, and then you would have to cast someone for Ezra, and then just Ezra would, like it's a sticky wicket. Like, it's one of those things where if you're going to put Maul into Solo at the end of Solo, and if you're going to do an Obi-Wan story, kind of wish you hadn't gone that route in Rebels.
Dude, they pulled the trigger on some of these character decisions before they really had this thing planned out. That's what I'm saying. There's such a good idea to slow down, make sure the story is great.
Right. Well, because
that's they've been moving at breakneck pace without getting the story unlocked in some of these things.
The Maul and Solo thing, that's 100% sort of a last minute decision. They even talked about how there was this list of characters that it could possibly be in that scene, and then Ron Howard decided to go with Maul. So that was,
I mean, I get it,
definitely,
but that just has such implications on
right
the stuff that he's already out there in.
So I'm just saying, with our little trash compactor idea, we can knock that series up from 4 episodes to 5 episodes.
You really like that, don't you?
I love it.
And he's stranded on the wherever he is. That's how he gets off of wherever that planet is. Him and Ahsoka dueled on, and the little droid make a ship out of those cubes, like all of them. Like, he welds them together.
Beautiful.
Takes a long time.
A long time. Ray Park did motion capture for Maul in this season of Clone Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I saw the setup for the fight, and I was like, ooh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
When I saw, Ahsoka pop the 2 lightsabers and then Maul pop the double-bladed one, I was like, ooh, this is good. This choreography is good. This is going to be good. That's going to be a good fight.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the final lightsaber duel of the Clone Wars series, right? So I'd hope they knock it out of the park. And they did a really cool lightsaber duel shit in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff. So,
do you think... So the last time Maul saw Ahsoka is when she got ripped into the world beyond worlds, right?
Well, that's in Rebels.
Or was that Vader?
Vader sees that happen, and that's in Rebels, which is years and years later.
That's
so
right.
He sees her during the Siege of Mandalore. I assume, probably rightfully so, that she defeats him and he tucks tail and runs or whatever. And then probably Order 66 goes down. She has to escape. I imagine that's what we'll see, is probably the last few minutes or last episode of the Clone Wars will be Ahsoka escaping Order 66 and going into hiding. And then eventually she links up with the Rebellion and becomes Fulcrum in Rebels. And then, she does all that stuff. They go to Malachor. Maul's there. He blinds Kanan. Vader shows up. World between worlds. He does refer to her as Lady Tano Maul does, refers to Ahsoka as Lady Tano when he runs into her in Rebels. So to me, that almost signifies some sort of respect on his part, right? Like,
Oh yes, respect or familiarity.
so I'm expecting her to whip his ass, and that'll be glorious.
I mean, you really just want Ahsoka to win no matter what. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like,
right.
Everyone's pulling for Ahsoka.
Yeah, she's the shit.
She is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping this shit is received very well, and then Hot Toys is like, you know what we're gonna do? Clone Wars Hot Toys. And I can maybe get an Ahsoka Hot Toy. That would be cool.
It would be.
I just hope they don't do the Hot Topic Mandalorians, because I have to get one because it's a fucking Mandalorian. All right. So I think that does it. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on from the Clone Wars trailer? Oh, I can't believe I fucking forgot this. So one thing to add is there is a scene with them all around like the war table or whatever. You know, the hologram war table.
Yeah.
And in that scene, you see Jedi Master, I'm going to fuck this up, Depa Billaba.
Okay.
She is Kanan's Jedi Master.
Okay.
And standing next to her is a young man who we
It's a lot like Kanan.
we have to assume that's Caleb Doom, later to be known as Kanan. Really didn't do much to change that name, did he?
Oh, it's not the same.
It's definitely not the same. It's good enough. Close enough.
What's Cara Dune's full name?
Carinthia Dune or some shit like that. Moff Gideon says it in that last episode of The Mandalorian. And when he said that shit, my brain goes, oh, you're never going to be able to pronounce that. People are going to be correcting you on that for years. It's like how Lando's full name is Landonis. I see. I'm gonna fuck it up.
I didn't know Lando was short for anything. Landonis Calrissian.
Well, you remember in Solo, right? When they're walking to the ship and he's talking shit about L3, and she turns around and she's like, Landonis something Calrissian. Don't you dare. I can't remember the exact words. I think that was the first time they dropped that. And
I need to watch Solo because it's been a minute.
It's been a minute for me too. I actually ended up skipping over it and Rogue One in my episode 9 rewatch.
Yeah.
Just because for time and those honestly have been the two that I've found myself going back to least thus far. Don't dislike either movie by any means. They're just the ones I go back to least.
Well, they don't naturally fit in the order.
Well, I mean, I think that you can make a compelling argument that Rogue One does for sure because
you can place them chronologically,
right?
But as the flow of the story goes, they don't naturally flow with all the other movies.
Yeah, I could see that. And honestly, as much as I enjoy both of those movies, I don't feel like either of them gave me anything that I was like, oh, I'm dying to see this in Star Wars. You know? But that's obviously a matter of personal taste and preference. I enjoy them both fine, but I was never like, well, I can't say that. I can't say that for sure. Because I definitely always wondered what the Kessel Run was all about and how Han got the Falcon and things like that. And then
how Han and Chewie met.
Yeah. So that's fair. All right. Well, you want to move on over and do some emails and some voicemails and wrap this up?
Let's do it.
Okay. So first up, we have a voicemail from our buddy King Tom. Let's hear what he has to say. Oh, don't you give me technical difficulties.
Don't
tonight,
you do it.
Tonight is not the night. I am not. You, what are you doing? Oh my God.
Hey there, Hawes and Will. Great episode last week. It got me thinking, especially your discussion about the Sith, and it kind of gave me a new idea / theory I've been working with in my head. We all know that as far back as Aftermath, it was established that Palpatine sent ships and people and equipment out into the unknown regions. He believed that the source of his power derived from something out there that was a line from Aftermath, and we all thought that he used this to explore the unknown regions and to establish the First Order, which, after the Rise of Skywalker, is still true. But the Rise of Skywalker kind of added something to it where, well, he was sending things specifically to Exegol to build the Final Order Sith Empire fleet, whatever we want to call it. And that all is still valid, but it gave me a new theory. What if, as far back as before the Phantom Menace, Sheev Palpatine's big plan was to become Chancellor, use the Clone Wars to divide the galaxy, to make the Jedi appear as enemies of the peace, to drive the galaxy towards accepting an empire. Then he would rule that empire for however many years, maybe 50 sounds like a good number, if you ask me. Then he would have this fleet out, this huge, massive fleet, Sith fleet, out in the unknown regions on Exegol. And all of a sudden, one day, they would come in as his Sith Empire to completely turn the Galactic Empire, formerly the Old Republic, into a true Sith Empire. Because you would have all those ships, all those troopers, supplant almost the Imperial fleet. Just as the Stormtroopers replaced the Clone Troopers, you would kind of have these guys take over, and the Galactic Empire would become a true Sith Empire. Of course, there would only be one ruler, Sheev Palpatine, Darth Sidious. Maybe he would have an apprentice, but he would have all of these people devoted to the Sith to enforce his rule, even more than the already cooperative Imperial Stormtroopers, Imperial Army, Navy enforce his rule. It's just an idea I've been kicking around, but what do you think about that? Because it works that way much more than just he has a backup plan in case he dies. His followers out there will revive him. Well, of course they did that anyway, because they were out there anyway. Anyway, like I said, just a theory, and I blame you guys for it, so thank you. Anyway, thanks for the great podcast. I will talk with you later.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Don't you put that evil on me.
I actually really like that idea, to be honest.
I do too.
Like, what would be more appealing to old Sheev Palpatine than not just his own empire, right? But his own Sith loyalist empire.
Acolytes.
Yeah, like a whole empire ruled by people not just loyal to the empire, but loyal to the ideals of the Sith. Like, I would imagine that's probably pretty appealing to someone like old Sheev. And also, even though this stuff isn't necessarily considered canon anymore, like, has some neat parallels to, like, the Sith Empire from the Old Republic and things like that, you know? Like,
yeah,
that could be really cool. I really like that idea. If all Pablo Hidalgo stops writing visual dictionaries, I got a hearty recommendation for someone to pick it up, and that's Mr. King Tom. He's good at making some, he's good at connecting some threads and stuff like that. He totally could do that job.
He could.
I think it would be fucking phenomenal. And if people started shit and talking on the internet, I'd be that dude that's like, don't you say that about my friend.
Not about my buddy King Tom.
He's a good man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Looking forward to the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. See if it offers any more insight to that sort of thing. Because that seems like a good opportunity, right? To do that sort of thing.
It does.
And I know that'll rub people the wrong way. And I understand. Like, I love sitting down and reading the visual dictionaries and stuff after the movies comes out. and like seeing all the little connections and explanations and things. But those shouldn't be essential reading to understand things, and to a certain extent, maybe even to a large extent. Man, I am like a fucking shelter dog when it comes to talking about the Rise of Skywalker. I feel like just slightly trying to say something positive about it is gonna get. I'm the pylon now. Let's open up this fucking pit.
Oh my goodness. What are you saying?
Well, I'm just saying, this isn't even necessarily positive, but I'm saying that certain elements of the Rise of Skywalker, the visual dictionary is kind of essential reading, and I don't think it should be. I think those should add like garnish and spice to the story, not necessarily
meat and potatoes.
Yeah, tell you what you were missing. All right. Let's go ahead and hear from our buddy Utah Dougy. Haven't heard from Dougy in a little bit.
Hey, Hawes and Will, Blue Harvesters, this is Dougy. Just was thinking about the Rise of Skywalker at the end when Rey is facing off against Emperor Palpatine, and how he wants to complete a Sith ritual to transfer his essence, or the essence of all of the Sith, into her. And I do know that he asked Luke to strike him down in anger as well. Was that part of a similar plan in Return of the Jedi? Was he going to attempt to transfer whatever powers he had to Luke in being struck down? Or was that just an exclusive plan with his granddaughter, with his power to be transferred? That was just a quick question. I was wondering what the Blue Harvesters thought of that, Hawes and Will. And anyways, love the podcast. Keep it up. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Dougie. I think they're two separate things. I think him wanting Luke to strike him down in anger is more.
Are you saying Snoke said that to Luke?
Palpatine says that to Luke in Return of the Jedi. And I think what he's wanting him to do is strike him down. I think he knows Vader, or hopes that Vader is going to stop him from doing it. What Palpatine wants in Return of the Jedi, if I had to guess, is he wants Luke to try to strike him down in anger, which would be to tap into the dark side. Vader intervenes, Luke kills Vader, and then takes his place as Palpatine's apprentice,
having given into the dark side.
Right. Now, with Rey in The Rise of Skywalker, I think he does want her to strike him down in anger to complete the ritual, so he can transfer his essence and all the Sith to her. And who knows, maybe it has something to do with the fact that she is his descendant. Maybe he can only do that because she is his descendant or something. Maybe that's how the ritual works. Once again, not very well explained, but
Sith rituals, Sith magic.
Yeah, and that's one of those things I honestly, that part of it, I'm fully fine with trying to put the pieces together myself. I feel like there's enough there for you to figure it out. You know? Other things, not so much. But that one in particular, I feel like is easy enough to connect the dots on. All right. Let's move it on. Sorry if we're blowing through these, guys. I'm sick. Next up, we got one from our buddy Jim. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Hawes and Will. I got a hypothetical for you. So you guys are driving down the street. All of a sudden, Boba Fett shows up out of nowhere, tears the top of your car off with some laser lasso that you didn't even know that he had, and then he goes for Hawes. But Will, using his whisking hand, rips a part of his jetpack off, knowing it's Boba's weakness, and Boba flies off to like the side of on a cliff. Okay, certain death, hanging in the balance, and Hawes and Will, you guys go over, you're like, man, your outfit is so cool. I just got to save you, even though you tried to kill me. And then you pull him up to safety, and he says, 1 year. And he gives you 1 year. He disappears. He just runs off or jumps in the ship. And what do you do for that 1 year? Do you prepare yourself, or do you just say, oh, I'm done after this, so I'll just, say my goodbyes for the next year? What would you guys do? That's all I'm asking. All right. Ignite the green.
Buddy.
In the words of John Bon Jovi, I go down in a blaze of glory.
I'm telling you right now, that year would be the montage from Rocky IV.
I was about to say 1980s training montage is what that year
yeah. Dude, I'd be like swinging on the parallel bars, getting my arm strength up more, doing pull-ups. I'm going to set traps in my house.
Ripping phone books in half with his bare hands.
Yeah, like the Power Squad or whatever that show was called.
Yeah, he'd be laying on a bed of nails and getting somebody to bust cement blocks on his stomach with a sledgehammer.
And then you know what else I do? I start setting traps in my house. Right? And I'm not talking about little homie from Home Alone traps.
Not inconvenience you traps.
No,
I was talking like shotgun rigged to a door handle.
Exactly. I'm talking because I'm here to tell you, most people won't acknowledge this because they're all like, oh, Home Alone's a classic. I totally agree. I'm not saying it's not. But they got that idea from the last 20 minutes of A Nightmare on Elm Street when Nancy Thompson sets all kinds of traps up in her house, Home Alone style, but deadly, for Freddy Krueger. Because her plan is, oh, I'm going to go to sleep, and then I'm going to grab him, and I'm going to wake up and pull Freddy Krueger into the real world, and then my house is going to be full of traps. She puts, like, gunpowder and light bulbs and shit, right? Ooh. Yeah, and then when she turns the light on, they blow up and shit. That's what I'm doing. So Boba comes to my house, he's dealing with Nancy Thompson traps. That's what happens. And then I beat him, and I take his Mandalorian armor, and I go to Comic-Con and have a good time. People will be like...
And then I thought you were going to say, and then I bounty hunt the galaxy. No, then I go to Comic-Con.
Then I go to Comic-Con.
A bunch of high fives and incredibly accurate Boba Fett armor.
And then one day you're sitting at your house, right? Maybe you're playing a little Xbox, maybe watching a little anime. Your house starts shaking. And you're like, what the fuck is that? And you go outside, it's late. It's like 2 a.m. Bright light all above your house. You're like, oh shit, it's finally happening. The Greys are coming to get me. No, man, it's me and Slave One. You want to go on a ride?
Hell yeah, I want to go on a ride.
Let's go, buddy. We're going to Comic-Con.
Man, we would be the talk of Comic-Con if we showed up in a Slave too.
They'd be like, how did they do this?
We'd have Elon Musk frozen in carbonite, and we'd defrost him on the stage in front of everybody.
And then, like, somebody get mad, right? Somebody get mad. They see my Slave One and get super jealous of my badass screen-accurate Boba Fett costume. It's only screen-accurate because I took it from Boba Fett. Like, let's pile on this mother. Let's open up this pit!
And then Hawes does the forearm thing, and the fire jet comes out of the forearm of the armor.
We'd be like, 5 people got burnt to crisp at Comic-Con.
Holy shit, it was real. The armor was real. Hawes takes off in the jetpack.
Peace out. All right. Let's get some emails.
Enough of our cinema of the mind.
Next up, we got one from our buddy Steve. Hey guys, with the rumor that Jar Jar is going to be making an appearance in the upcoming Obi-Wan series, I was wondering if you could come up with a best case and worst case scenario for how his character could be used. I'm thinking best case, Bail and Sabe are using Jar Jar as a go-between Obi-Wan as they search for Force-sensitive children. Obviously, the much better Lucasfilm writers would do this much better than I could. Worst case, he's hanging out around Obi-Wan's hut, breaking stuff with Anakin's lightsaber. Please be as weird and crazy with this as you can. Well, buddy, I don't know how much that rumor applies after today, but we can get silly with it. You want to get silly with it, Will? How do you...
I can get weird. I'll give you weird and best case scenario.
Do it for me.
Best case scenario, he is the sad clown that he was made out to be, but instead of all the children hating him, all the children love him.
So just a random shot of Naboo with kids adoring Jar Jar.
And his clown-like ways.
And being like, he's the best.
He's the best.
Okay, what's silly?
Silly, he shows up on Tatooine and buffoons his way into saving the day of Obi-Wan Kenobi, saving his ass. And ends up becoming a general in Jabba the Hutt's personal cadre of bounty hunters in Jabba's palace.
Okay. Best case scenario for Jar Jar, if he were to be in the Obi-Wan series, would be,
and he could be that sad clown on Tatooine. It doesn't have to be on Naboo.
See, I like where Steve's going with this, is that, like, not necessarily that he's some kind of go-between or Force-sensitive children are involved, but for some reason, Jar Jar needs to find Obi-Wan. Something important. Something big. I can't think of a personal reason why. But he has to go to Bail, because Bail is the only one who knows where Jar Jar is. And he and Bail are tight. Because, you know, reasons. Jar Jar was cool with Padme, etc., etc. Bail tells Jar Jar, hey, he's hanging out on Tatooine. You should go look for him there. And he shows up and relays whatever information. It gets, he meets Obi-Wan. There's a big, like, heartwarming moment where they see each other again. He calls him Obi. Obi!
Oh, my goodness.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. We're knocking this series up to 6 episodes again. Worst case scenario. Obi-Wan wakes up one day in his little hut on Tatooine. He's like, man, I need a drink. So he walks to Mos Eisley, right? Goes into the cantina. He elbows up to the bar, gets a drink from Woo-Her, right? Sitting there sipping it. And what does he hear from behind him? Obi! That's right, Jar Jar. Jar Jar's in the cantina. Why? They never explain it. He's just there.
Misa, muy happy to see you.
And he's all talking about, like, talking way too loud about how Obi-Wan is a Jedi, and he's, like, asking to see his lightsaber and shit.
He's a Bombay Jedi with a laser sword.
And Obi-Wan's, like, trying to be like, dude, keep that shit down. I'm trying to lay low. And he's like, whatever happened to Anakin's kids? He's, like, being way loud about it. And he won't shut up. And Obi-Wan's like, dude, you gotta be quiet. And Jar Jar's being so loud and so disruptive that Obi-Wan has no choice but to lead him out into the desert and just leave him there.
Dude, they didn't tell Jar Jar Binks any of that stuff.
I know.
They treated him like it was a kid.
We're talking worst case scenario.
What happened to Padme? She went to sleep.
She went to live on a farm.
Yeah.
With a bunch of other Padmes where she can run around and be free. I wasn't talking likely. We're talking worst case scenario here.
No, I know. I'm joking around with you.
All right. Next up, we've got an email from Willis. He says, ahoy, hoy. As you mentioned last week, it's interesting to wonder who the bad guys will be in the High Empire. How would you feel about a movie that's similar to Training Day, but with a Padawan learner discovering their masters dabble in the dark side? I've never seen that movie. The only references I know from Training Day are from that one Dave Chappelle skit. So far, you're probably thinking...
Ethan Hawke and Denzel, right?
Right. And doesn't he make him smoke PCP in that?
Yeah.
I didn't know you like to get wet. Let's see how far we can push that. While the Padawan would be Yoda himself, the rogue Jedi would be a motherfucking yak face. He would complement his yak-like face with 37 yak-themed catchphrases include, yakety yak, don't come back, somebody's getting yak tonight, and you don't know the power of the yak side. The bad yak would be the first Jedi to wear a black leather robe and sunglasses. He would also possess a mini lightsaber to light his space Marlboros, of which he would smoke many. May the Force be with you. So he's basically old Joe Cool, right? Wasn't that the Camel?
This particular Sylvester Stallone character, Cobra, comes to mind. He had these Cobra-handed pistols, and he had like this black leather jacket. I think he didn't even wear a shirt under the open leather jacket. Sunshades.
I don't think I've ever seen Cobra.
Oh, dude.
I probably have and just don't remember it all that well. But damn, that I say I love this idea. We take that and we cross it with Willis's idea. But instead of having Cobra-handled pistols, the Yak Face Jedi has Yak Face-handled lightsabers. He's a dual wielder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he smokes death sticks, which are Star Wars cigarettes.
We're getting there.
I love this. I mean, I think this just requires, you know what? And we work this. If we don't put it in the High Republic, you know where we put this?
Where?
We put this in the Obi-Wan series. 7 episodes now, baby. We're getting up there. We may have to split this bitch into 2 seasons, my dude.
Lucasfilm's going to be calling us tomorrow. I hope you're ready. Keep your day open.
Oh, if they want to call me and fly me out to San Francisco for a story meeting, like, guys, send the ticket. I'm ready. It's like in in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin goes to confront Palpatine about being a Sith, and he's like, use my power to say, let me help you. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Before old Mace Windu and all those jokers go in to confront him. That would be me, like, use my power. I know this dude Willis. He's a wealth of ideas. What do you guys feel about a road trip movie where 2 guys get attacked by Boba Fett? I think we got something.
Brilliant. It'll sell millions.
Cut to the next episode of Access Hollywood. I don't even know if that shit's on anymore. And they were like, they thought it couldn't be done. They thought there couldn't be a bigger Star Wars bomb than Solo: A Star Wars Story. Well, Boba Fett Road Trip released this week to a worldwide box office of $17.
Closely followed the next week by the direct to VHS.
Why VHS? We don't know.
Road trip Boba Fett Boogaloo 2.
Star Wars is dead, and we have this man to blame for it. And it's a picture of me looking all confused. And then like a metal dude in the background be like, let's open up this pit. All right. Next up, we got an email from Jet. Greeting, Hawes and Will and Blue Harvest fam. I've been listening to your podcast since last October during the build-up to Episode 9. I've made it to Episode 83 plus the current ones and have had a blast listening. Thank you for being so positive and loving of all things Star Wars. Thank you, buddy. I have a question for the show that relates to the nature of the Jedi. Throughout the movies and the stories, both canon and EU, we have seen the Jedi act as keepers of the peace, but little has been written as to what the Jedi Order was originally built upon. I can't imagine the first Jedi thought they needed to go around policing everyone. What would the Jedi do with their time if they weren't peacekeepers? Maybe they wouldn't need lightsabers at all and would use kyber crystals for some other purpose. Or the crystals could just be their buddies that they keep in a Jyn Erso-style necklace. I don't know. Sorry if my questions sound like a stone shower thought. It is. But it's something I've been thinking about since I played Fallen Order. Your friend from the forest island of Fidalgo, Jet Rider. Fidalgo. That is either completely made up, or that is an island off the coast of Washington State. I don't know why I have this piece of trivia in my head. Did Jesse and I watch an episode of Jeopardy recently where that was the answer to a question? Why do I have this? We'll have to look that up in a second. So, something that I've always kind of wondered, and maybe it was explored in the EU and I'm just not familiar with it, but at what point did the Jedi Order and the Republic sort of become intertwined? You know what I mean? Like at one point, you would have to imagine that the Jedi sort of started off as like a monastic religious order to an effect, right?
I always come back to the idea that they're wizard monks, right? So I imagine them, if they're not peacekeepers, cloistered in a temple,
right,
on some remote location, doing what Luke was doing. I don't know if you call that an ascetic lifestyle, where like the bare minimums, you do your hunting, your fishing, your gathering, and you pray and you meditate and you cast, your spells, i.e., you experiment with the Force and attuning to the Force and becoming one with the Force and divining the Force's future, past, and present, and having visions, and basically just a monastery for, research and reflection.
Yeah, but at some point the Jedi, sort of organized, right, and became a thing, and then you would have to imagine the Republic was like, damn, these dudes are powerful. They got some kind of mystic powerful. They're powerful. They're wise. They got laser swords, I guess. And you would imagine that wouldn't be an appealing ally to your government, right?
I can imagine the Jedi begrudgingly being asked, agreeing to be diplomats.
Right.
Mediators.
Right.
And from there, you arrive at some forces and some people can't be mediated with. They resort to violence regardless. And violence, if you're not going to be killed, begets violence. In order to defend yourself martially, you have to show force and be violent yourself. So I understand monks being trained in self-defense only. That's,
right,
exists in our world as well.
Yeah, I just wonder how that relationship came about, right? I think there's an interesting story to tell there. Don't know that it's
sure there is.
I don't know that it's worthy of a movie necessarily, but like a book or a comic. And I'm trying to remember. I need to go back and read Tales of the Jedi again. I do like to revisit that from time to time because I like it so much. But
yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Jedi are already associated with the Old Republic at that point. I don't think it's called the Old Republic. I think it's called the Republic in those. But
well, from what I know, Jedi used swords and lightsabers before they were, galactic peacekeepers.
Yeah, there's that comic series that I've never read. It's another thing that I would like to go back and check out, called Dawn of the Jedi, that I do think sort of details sort of the beginning of the Jedi, and they do use swords instead of sabers, I believe.
Right.
And by the way, Jessie texted me, right? Because she heard our little conversation, and I was right. Fidalgo Island is an island in Skagit County, Washington, located about 60 miles north of Seattle.
Well, hot diggity dog.
Hot diggity damn, look at me. That'd be the only question I got right on fucking Jeopardy. They'd be like, this island is located approximately 60 miles. This island is, and I'm I'd be like, Fidalgo Island, and you must phrase that answer in the form of a question. What is Fidalgo Island? Only question I get right. Ooh, sorry.
And for me, it'd be, what is Hidalgo the horse?
I went to see that shit in the theater.
It's got Viggo Mortensen in it.
It sure does.
Probably the same horse from Lord of the Rings. You know, he loved that damn horse so much he bought it.
Yeah, I know. It's like Adam Sandler adopted the bulldog from, was it Little Nicky?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And we're all right. We got one more email, then we'll wrap this up tonight. Thanks to everybody for writing in. You guys really help us out on the slower weeks. Not that this was a slower week, but this comes from, well, it says it comes from Sith Lord Cookie. Hey, Hawes and Will, long-time listener, first-time writer. With the explosion of Duel of the Fates script and concept leaks happening this week, I was really curious to hear your thoughts and opinions on the Star Wars that could have been. If you could pick any one item from the script or concept art, what would it be and why? P.S. What kind of music does Will listen to? I was wondering if he's a metalhead like me and you, Halls. You guys make my Sunday morning at work keep up. The best pod in the world. Your friend from Florida, Kyler, a.k.a. Rogue Leader. Thanks for writing in, buddy. I'd like to hear from you some more. So before we get into that stuff, we kind of covered the leaked Trevorrow stuff a little bit last week, but what do you think, Will? What kind of music do you like?
I like metal. I don't listen to it as much as I used to, but mostly I listen to classic rock.
Yeah.
The Hall & Oates, The Journey, the Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Pink Floyd. You know. Yeah. The good stuff. I can't help. I know that may be a little before my time.
Oh well.
But I probably should be listening to music of my age, but
buddy, I don't know about all that.
Tend to be a classic rock guy.
Okay, so I don't really know about the Colin Trevorrow stuff. It doesn't seem good to me. That's my personal opinion.
It would have been all right, is what I think.
Yeah. My main story element, and I talked about this last week, that I would have brought over from the Colin Trevorrow stuff is Rose actually having something to do in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, that's the one thing that's
and some of the Luke
it.
and Leia training together stuff, I really like that.
From the concept art, the one idea, and this is simply from like a toy collector, is the idea of Kylo not reforging his old mask, but getting a completely new mask.
That maybe looked even more like Darth Vader's mask.
Yeah, and I think that could have been cool. And it would also, have given the opportunity for some cool toys and collectibles and things like that. But I also like Kylo's mask in Revenge of the Sith. I think it looks neat with like the red Flex Seal or whatever it was that they used to fix his mask. I think it looks neat, but I also don't think the opportunity to have a new mask would have been bad. I think they could have done something cool with that.
Yeah.
But that's the two elements from that. Well, I take that back. Seeing Coruscant again would have been cool. Just because I like that location so much, and it was one that before the prequels came out, and after seeing that brief glimpse of it in the special edition of Return of the Jedi, I was all about like, oh, we're finally going to see Coruscant, right? And it was cool to finally see. And I don't know, I guess I kind of assumed it would play some role in the sequel trilogy. So that would have, that would have been neat.
Yeah.
That's really about it. Do you have any of the other stuff?
No.
Yeah, that's about where I fall with it too.
No. Oh, you said everything that I agree.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that does it for us this week. Thanks for recording with me, buddy.
Dude, thanks for letting me record with you.
Guys, if you like our theme song, please be sure to check out the band that was kind enough to provide the music. They're Stoned Cobra. You can find them on iTunes, Spotify, and at stonedcobra.bandcamp.com. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't already on iTunes. That helps us out a lot. And until next week, this has been Blue Harvest, and I'm your host, Halls Burkhart.
And I'm Will Witten.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with all of you.
May the Force be with us.